This podcast is not intended to provide any investment advice. The opinions expressed here by either the hosts or guests do not necessarily reflect the views of PSA, Collectors Holdings, or any of their affiliates. Any discussion of collectible values in the past or present is not a guarantee of future performance.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of the PSA Pod. Ryan Greene and Jack Archer coming to you here from PSA headquarters in Orange County. We've got a lot to talk about with Jack because you are just back from a big weekend in New York.
Fresh back from New York Comic-Con, PSA had a fairly big presence there, I would say. We were accepting submissions at our booth for both trading cards and Funko Pops, which we just recently launched. It's an exciting time for the company and a pretty big new vertical. Sports card collectors might not realize how crazy and enthusiastic Funko Pop collectors are, but you step into Comic-Con for 5 minutes and you realize the footprint these cute little vinyl figures have in their particular hobby.
I am all in on it. I know you're all in on it. We're going to talk about it a little bit more later in the show. We are going to be joined by Chris McGill from CardLadder, who's becoming quite the regular here, but we love talking to him. And today we're going to be talking a lot of baseball with Chris. Obviously, a lot of the buzz in the baseball card market these last couple of weeks has been around Aaron Judge and his chase for the American League home run record heading into the 2022 postseason. And we'll be talking some other things in terms of what he's seeing on the baseball side of the card ladder, and also a little bit of basketball talk because that's his wheelhouse. And we're also going to be joined a little bit later by Daniel Wruble from the PSA Set Registry team. We're going to be talking about baseball activity on the registry, not only involving Judge, but some other names who have seen a lot of movement and activity in the registry with our customers and collectors over the course of the 2022 season. And something really cool going on in the registry, an ongoing contest surrounding the MADDEN 99 club set that was created just before the start of the football season and has proven to be really popular with collectors who are PSA Set Registry members. But Jack, I want to talk Funko Pops because I was having total FOMO seeing all of the looks from New York Comic Con that not only the team here, but just everyone visiting there in general had. Especially after the announcement of the launch of Funko Pop grading here at PSA. What was the customer response like? You were at the PSA booth for the biggest days of the show. People had a chance to come up, not only submit Funko Pops for grading, but kind of see them in person, see what the quote unquote slab or holder looks like. What was the general vibe
at New York Comic-Con? Everyone that really understood PSA and understood Funko Pops was incredibly excited about what was happening. Of course, there are people there that knew Funko Pops really well and didn't know PSA really well. And speaking with those people and letting them know what we do as a company in terms of authenticating and grading and what it means to their hobby, their mind completely opened up to the idea, and this sheer enthusiasm and excitement hardcore Funko Pop collectors had about us being there was really, really cool. There was a specific desire to have someone like us in this space. And a term we use internally quite often is collectibles can be the Wild West. There can be inauthentic collectibles. You never really know what kind of condition you're getting. And we present law and order. And in the Funko Pop world, I'm learning that it is especially needed. A lot of these e-commerce sellers are sort of doing quote unquote grading on their own. They're saying this pop is in excellent condition or near mint or poor condition or whatever it might be. And each company has a different scale. There's nothing standardized about anything. And there are so many fake Funko Pops out there.
Yeah.
A lot of the modern cards, like there's pretty hardcore technology involved in terms of printing the refractors and the different parallels and everything involved on top of security features and more. In the Funko Pop world, a lot less so. There's a lot of fraudulent Funko Pops all over Asia, especially. And it's completely necessary for someone like us to be in this space to sort of not regulate it, but just add clarity, take out the guesswork, and make Funko Pop collecting a lot more streamlined, a lot easier, and a lot more fun.
Yeah, we always talk about education, right? Educating customers along the way. And I know myself, I learned a ton about the Funko Pop sort of space and market here in just these last few weeks before the launch. Um, and that was one of the things that I didn't really understand was how many fakes are out there. And on top of that, the grading scale. I find it so fascinating. Head to psacard.com. You'll see it on the top of the homepage. There's a banner linking to our Funko Pop grading services landing page, and on there you can look at the grading scale, just like you can look on our website at the grading scale for cards and how we determine between each grade. I thought with Funko Pops, we discussed this with Kevin last week, Kevin Linane, our president, on the podcast. There's almost going to be a really fun element of challenge and kind of competition to it because high grades in these are not, it's not you. There's so many more things to factor in compared to when you're grading a card.
It's more comparable to vintage cards
Yeah.
than modern cards,
Yes.
I would say. I don't think tins are going to fall very easily. The cardboard on these things are very thin, very fragile, very easy to dent, very easy to tear. There's going to be 10s, and it's going to be very exciting when those hit. But just going to like your local Target, grabbing 10 of them and expecting all 10 to be a PSA 10 is pretty unlikely, I would say. And it's going to be fun to see how the market evolves and the kind of premium a PSA 10 might command compared to like a PSA 8 or a PSA 7, and how that is different from the market in sports cards.
Yeah. So, what's your feel just based on conversations you had and reactions you saw at New York Comic Con about what's your feel about the future of the market surrounding Funko Pops as a buy in, trade, and sell collectible, sort of like cards? Where do you kind of see it falling? How do you see it growing?
I mean, I see it growing in a big way. I'm going to share a quick story. 2 weeks ago, I bought my first big boy Funko Pop, like collector style Funko Pop. It's a semi-rare Kobe Bryant Funko where he's wearing the number 8 jersey. The rest of his Funko Pops, he's wearing number 24. It was sort of like a limited run throwback Funko Pop. And I'm in a meeting with some of the Funko Pop business team, including one of our lead consultants who's a subject matter expert. And I'm so excited to drop this knowledge. Hey, I got this really cool, this really rare Kobe Bryant Funko Pop. I'm so excited. And I share that news, and the consultant goes, "Where did you buy it?" And I said, "I bought it on eBay." And eBay, that's where a lot of collectors and hobbyists will buy cards on eBay,
Like
especially raw cards,
yeah.
In a big way. And he just like shakes his head and he goes, "It's probably fake."
Oh,
And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "There are so many fakes of that specific Kobe Bryant Funko. They're on eBay in a big way. You should have gone to me before you bought it. Show me pictures ASAP, and I can assure you if it's indeed authentic or indeed fake." And it really kind of like opened my eyes to just how necessary it is to have someone authenticating and grading these vinyl figures. And on top of it, they present incredibly well on our PSA holders. They look really, really nice, and they stack really easy.
Yeah, the display that you guys had at Comic-Con looked really nice with all of them kind of stacked in one of those clear acrylic displays. And, I think I joked about it before on the show. Like, this is the type of collectible that I think my girlfriend would actually let me display out in the open at our place, as opposed to, cards can be a little bit more difficult to display. These really have that eye appeal as a displayable collectible.
I think they're going to win people over in a pretty big way, not only because they're so joyful, and not only because I think people are going to gravitate towards them, especially because there's so many pop culture and sports figures that they might appreciate or collect or like that have Funko Pop counterparts. But for the collecting community, whether you collect rare coins or rare cards or rare memorabilia or whatever it might be, there's so many through lines with Funko Pops, and it's been so fun researching and learning about the intricacies of this hobby, the things that they look for, the things that they appreciate, what a big deal scarcity is, on top of subject matter. And of course, there's going to be sort of the quote unquote base Funko Pops that might sell for $15 or $25, but there's a heck of a lot of rare, interesting Funko Pops that it already feels like the market is mature, even though it's only like 10 or 12 years old.
Mhm.
And it's very impressive what the company has done to get to where it is, and where the community has done to kind of build it up to where it is. And I think us being involved is just going to supercharge everything.
What was the highlight of the week in New York surrounding, everything we had going on there at New York Comic Con?
It's got to be the VIP launch party for Funko Pop grading that we did. There's a lot of sweat put into that event, and it just came together beautifully. Everybody had a really, really great job. Everybody had a really, really great time, and it was really just sort of a stunning visual display of the Funko Pop launch and just how like joyful and exciting these vinyl figures are.
So it was a big week in New York. The Funko Pop grading launch, it's officially underway. Head to psacard.com. You can get started now on submitting Funko Pop figures for grading. I know we've been talking here in the office. We've all got a handful of them that we want to start getting slabbed up, and I think testing out the grading. I think that there's going to be a lot of we mentioned it earlier. There's going to be a lot of education with customers, and you're going to learn really fast what to look for with these figures.
It's really, really exciting. And there's education on the actual collectibles themselves too, because there's not a lot out there. Despite what a big vertical this is, there's not a lot of media resources, online resources, guides, social media, whatever it might be, that kind of explain the different rarities and the importance of different Funko Pops. So as marketers, it's going to be exciting to start creating in leading that charge in terms of education.
Lots of exciting things ahead on the Funko Pop side. This is not the last time you'll hear us talking about it on this show. It is for today, because now we're going to kind of switch gears over to baseball. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to be joined by Chris McGill from CardLadder, talking about what's going on in the baseball market as the postseason heats up.
Hey everyone, this is Drew, producer of the PSA Pod. We've got some big news this week, as our bulk grading service level is now just $18 a card. Orders require a 25 card minimum. $199 is the maximum declared value per card, and orders submitted now will have an estimated turnaround time of 120 days. So if you're anything like me and ripping a ton of new basketball products hitting the market right now, or you just have a stack of cards at home waiting to be graded, this is the perfect opportunity to send those hits in. This service is exclusive to Collectors Club members, so you're going to want to visit psacard.com/join to become a member and take advantage of not only this exclusive offering, but more to come.
All right, we're back, and we are joined once again by a friend of the program, Chris McGill from CardLadder. Chris, thanks for taking the time, my friend.
What's up, Jack and Ryan? Thanks for having me, guys.
Now, of course, typically we love talking hoops with you, and we're going to talk a little bit of hoops, but we've got to take a jump into the CardLadder data, because we haven't talked a lot of baseball on the show of late, but there's been some really interesting happenings in the baseball card market over the course of these last couple months, and especially the last couple weeks, with the regular season winding down and a little bit of history mixed into all this, because that can always do some interesting things to card prices. And we want to talk about the CardLadder indexes, especially around Aaron Judge. So he's been the big name in baseball for the last couple of months, like we said, chasing the American League single season home run record. A lot of discussion around that.
I mean, not just Aaron Judge. My guy Albert Pujols, his cards are popping off too.
Yep. Pujols, obviously the newest member of the 700 club. Maybe he'll be the last at this rate. Who knows? Let's start with Judge. What have you been seeing on your end these last couple weeks?
Well, it's not hyperbole for me to say, but I think Aaron Judge this season is the single greatest rise in card values for an active player that I am able to find.
Wow.
So pretty historic what Judge has accomplished. So let me give you Judge's numbers and then 4 other players who have had huge recent rises in price. So Judge's index is up 192% over the last year, which is a lot, and basically 3x. And the baseball index is up 9%. Now, the reason I'm bringing up the baseball index is because, look, if the baseball index was up 200% and Judge was up like 200%, then you say, well, you know, hey, that's great. Judge's cards did well, but all baseball cards were thriving. So it's, you know, how much of that can we attribute to Judge? But that's not the case. Baseball did well over the last year. Up 9% is really good, but Judge is up 192%. So his net appreciation is 183%. And I can't find another season to match that. The other 4 that I looked at that were somewhat close. So you've got Luka's second season, which I measured that. So like to make it apples to apples, because we're at, you know, the last tail end of Judge's regular season. So to make it apples to apples, I went March of 2019 to March of 2020, which March of 2020 was when Luka's second season was interrupted for COVID. So over that span, Luka was up 141%, but basketball was up 49%. So Luka's net was 92%. So Judge is more than double Luka's second season, which really I think puts it in perspective what a crazy rise he had. Mahomes, his net increase from January 18 to January of 19, 173%. So Mahomes was the closest. Mahomes' MVP breakout season was the closest to Judge, but Judge still has him beat by 10 percentage points. The other guys who are worth mentioning, Morant, his index from May of 21 to May of 2022 was up 134%. And the net was actually 138% because basketball went down 4% during that year. And then Josh Allen. Now, here's what's crazy about Josh Allen. From January of 2021 to January of 2022, his index went up 311%. That's more than 4x, more than fourfold of an increase. But football was up 187%. So football was going crazy. Josh Allen was going even more crazy. But the net for Josh Allen was 124. So even comparing Mahomes' breakout year, Luka's breakout year, Josh Allen's breakout year, John Morant's breakout year, none of them can match the breakout year in the hobby that Aaron Judge had.
And it's coming after a handful of years where he was good, but not. I think it was his rookie year. He hit 53 home runs, kind of like caught the baseball world by storm. But his cards were kind of just, you know, they were settling in and there wasn't a lot of hobby hype. And then you had this historic of a season and things just explode.
Yeah, Jack. And I mean, the other thing too, I think a lot of people were really more cautious around him than around other baseball prospects because of the age in which he entered the league and skepticism over whether he could hit certain important benchmarks that would ensure Hall of Fame induction. But I think doing 62 home runs this year, being on the precipice of winning the Triple Crown, being an absolute lock to win the AL MVP, even as Ohtani's had an incredible season, I think all that stuff, people didn't really think it was possible. And when you do the impossible like that, maybe people even overreact a little bit to how special it is.
I think this is really cool too, because, you know, those first 2 names you mentioned with Luka and Mahomes and when those jumps happened, it was during that period where the hobby was really booming as a whole, you know, really at an unprecedented level in recent memory. And then, you know, as we all know, the card market, you know, has cooled off a little bit in recent months. And I think to see an athlete have a historic chase like this, after all of that, it shows that historic performance can still carry that type of, I guess you could just say it can lift the market of a player's cards still, even, you know, even after what we thought was maybe a boom that we might never see again. I think it's really cool to see a player have a historic run like that and the card values really spike in sync with it.
Well said.
Yeah. I want to ask about Pujols. Jack brought him up because, you know, comparing Pujols cards and Judge cards is kind of like apples and oranges, right? I mean, you go back 21 years to 2001, his rookie season, especially, there's so much less supply out there, so much different variety. And the values of a lot of those have been locked in for years, but what kind of action have they seen in the last few months? He's out of the playoffs now and his career is likely done, it sounds like. But during those thrilling last couple months of the season where he was chasing 700 and ultimately got there, what did you guys see?
Yeah, so slightly different story for Albert Pujols. Certainly, it's noteworthy that over the last 2 years, Pujols index and CardLadder is up 91%, but it mostly follows the ebbs and flows of more general baseball card market trends. He didn't have the breakout card price performance that Pujols did, but it's nothing to scoff at either. So Pujols is up, like I said, 91% over the last 2 years, with most of that appreciation happening in the first and second quarters of 2021, which was when there was a pretty, card market wide boom happening. But unlike lots of other players from that era, Pujols cards never lost the value. They never gave the value back. But they've been pretty stable. So over the last year, Pujols is up 7%. Over the last 6 months, he's down 4%. But over the last 3 months, he's up 7%, which just basically paints a picture of stability. His cards haven't taken off, but they haven't experienced the correction that we've seen for lots of players coming from that, let's call it the nostalgia era, that absolutely was injected with a lot of hype and excitement during the pandemic boom. And whereas, like I said, many players have given that value back, Pujols hasn't. Now, my personal opinion, I'm a little bit surprised by that. I thought Pujols' chase for 700 was at least the second best storyline in baseball this year. Obviously, Judge's chase might be more exciting, but I just think that if I were a collector looking at Pujols cards and I said, man, the 700, the hunt for 700 and then eclipsing it didn't really move his market too much, I'd say, wow, maybe there's still time for me to jump in here and pick up a cool Pujols card.
It was absolutely magical. And he had a handful of seasons with the Angels that were just so lackluster. And to see him put an exclamation mark at the end of his career and hit 700 and play as he did, like his numbers in the back half of this season were nothing short of extraordinary. And it was really exciting as just a pure baseball fan to see that happen. I'm a little surprised. I thought his numbers would be up a little bit more, but I have a theory I want to run by you, Chris, as to why his numbers didn't jump as drastically or near as drastically as Aaron Judge's. There's not a lot of supply for Albert Pujols cards, especially in high grades. He doesn't have a lot of rookie cards, and the rookie cards he does have are extremely expensive. So he's pretty hard to get into. Aaron Judge, on the other hand, a lot of different cards. You have his Bowman First card from 2013. You have his True Rookie cards, handful of different sets. Albert Pujols doesn't really have those. So if you want to get into Aaron Judge, there's a lot more accessible ways to do so, especially in a high grade. If you want to get into Albert Pujols, you're looking at 4 figures almost guaranteed for like any of his cards.
That's a great point. And another great corollary to that would be, whereas Pujols cards are more liable to change hands, people are unsure of where his place in history ultimately will be. If they realize a gain, they might want to take the profit off the table. With Pujols, there's really just a question of like, where in the top 15 players, do we put him? And so there's really not a lot of incentive to want to sell his cards. Like Pujols' highest selling card of all time is his rookie year Bowman Chrome Refractor autograph, which is numbered to 500. All right. We're not talking about a super 1 of 1. We're not talking about a red out of 5. We're not talking about a gold out of 50. We're talking about a card numbered to 500, the rarest version of this card from 2001. In a PSA 1010, it sold for $462,000 in February of this year. So there's respect for Pujols in the card market in every tier, high, mid, and low range, to the extent that he has low-end stuff available, to Jack's point. Now, that card for Pujols basically tripled in value from just a year and a half when it sold earlier in December. So that, that's a top dog card of Pujols. Now, I'll pose this to you. What if Pujols had a 01 Bowman Chrome auto refractor super 1 of 1? What would that card be worth?
That's an excellent question. And that reminds me of when people try to compare eras, when they say, oh, this Trevor Lawrence card is selling for so much, but like the most expensive Brett Favre card only sold for X, or Dan Marino only sold for X. It's frankly apples to oranges.
Mm-hmm.
And if Pujols had the Bowman Chrome First Auto Superfractor, as you suggested, it would be going bananas. And in a lot of ways, we're sort of in uncharted territory. I think Trout is really the first like GOAT level legend player to have the Superfractor Bowman Chrome First Auto, and we'll see how that goes over time. We graded that at the National. But there is just a difference in card quality and what the cards mean and say, and it's very difficult to compare eras because of that.
Agreed.
It's crazy. I'm old enough to remember his rookie year when that card came out. It's terrifying to think of what you could have had it for in 2001.
Oh my goodness. I was all over Ichiro cards too.
Yeah.
Couldn't care less about Albert Pujols cards at the time.
I grew up a Cubs fan, so I'm like, I'm not buying a card of this guy who's probably going to kill my team for the next decade plus, which he did. So the decisions we make.
Here, let me tell you, Ryan. I just did a quick search here on CardLadder sales history.
Oh,
I see a 2001 Bowman Chrome Auto out of 500. That's the card we're talking about. Pujols, a raw copy, sold for $935 in 2004.
Wow. Whew. Wish I would have had even that kind of money back when I was 18 years old. But that's I mean, I remember Pujols kind of came out of nowhere as a rookie, and I don't think anybody thought it was going to be this sustainable. So kudos to anyone who held it for 2 decades.
You know what's really crazy? Judge ain't done yet. The season's still going. The Yankees are still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
If he has some like historic World Series moments, the big walk-off home run in a Game 7, something really dramatic, like I can't even imagine how coveted his cards are going to be. And you can't really beat the Yankees fan base in terms of how much they cherish and covet the Yankees pinstripes in their collection.
And that year at the beginning of his career that you were referencing, when he hit all those home runs, I remember the biggest moment from that year was when he absolutely exploded at the home run derby.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what really set things ablaze.
It was either that or the photo of him next to Jose Altuve that went viral.
At second base. That's right. Well, Chris, one other thing on the Judge topic that we're curious about, has anybody else's market really seen much movement, I guess, as a result of what's going on? Obviously, for many reasons, Barry Bonds' name has been in the news as Judge has been on this chase. Roger Maris, who previously held the American League record. Anybody else kind of get some residual bump or effect out of what Judge has done these last few weeks?
Great question. Really hard to tease that out, but baseball is up 11% this year. I think Judge and Pujols both have a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
Maris is up 22% this year. So Maris is doubling the rate of growth of baseball, which is significant. And he's also in vintage cards in general are up 17%. So Maris being up 22% shows that he's outperforming the market by a meaningful amount. And I think it wouldn't be crazy to think that the chase for 62 and all of the reminiscing and remembering of Maris's record plays a factor in that. So it's tough to tease that stuff out, but and then you mentioned Bonds as well. The story of Bonds cards is fascinating as I was looking at this stuff, getting ready to talk to you guys. So like CardLadder's index, and we were talking about kind of the limited offering, excuse me, that Pujols has. Bonds' offering is even more limited in terms of like cool rookie cards, but Bonds' index in between 2004 and 2011 lost 90% of its value. And that coincides pretty neatly with some of the steroid stuff that was coming out in the news and kind of how that all played out. So bonds cards just, absolutely got decimated. Remember, an index can only go down 100% and then it's at zero. So to lose 90% is absolutely devastating. But the recovery of the bonds market since it bottomed out in that 2011, 2012 time span is pretty impressive. Bonds' market is up 14-fold over the last decade.
Wow.
Now, with respect to the Judge thing, and it's interesting, Judge comments and says, and maybe it's for polite reasons, or it's because he feels like it's what he has to say. Judge recognizes Bonds, in his own words, as the true home run leader. That 73 is the true record, but that doesn't seem to have had any effect on Bonds. Bonds' CardLadder index is down 19.5% this year, which considering that baseball is up 11%, that's even worse than it seems at first blush. He is up 17% over the last 2 years, but relative to most other things in the card market, that's quite modest. So there's really no other way to put it than just Bonds does not seem to have been a beneficiary of this particular moment in baseball history.
It's crazy hearing all these increases in pricing for baseball cards over the last year in the current economic climate that we're in. And it just goes to prove how this isn't like a stock. This isn't like an investment thing. This is stuff that people actually care about. These are things that people would rather chop off their arm than have to sell.
Yeah.
And it just makes it such a great thing to own, something to be so proud of and feel so comfortable with because of how connected people are to their cards and their collectibles.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Bonds' highest selling card ever is his 86 Topps traded Tiffany.
Mm-hmm.
And it reached upwards of 30 to 40 grand during the absolute peak in early 2021, which, remember, we referenced earlier, Pujols never corrected from early 2021, but Bonds did. So his PSA 10 Tiffany today is about a $6,000 card, which is more than half off of where that particular grade of that card was in early 2021. So still a respectable price for a card that has a PSA 10 population of 444 at $6,000. But certainly, there's not a lot of love for that card relative to some of the other stuff that came out of the 80s that's in a similar population range.
Oh, Chris, we wanted to spend a few minutes with you before we let you go talking hoops. We want to get into your wheelhouse here because the NBA preseason's just started. You can kind of feel that buzz building. Let's talk about what's going on the index side with basketball. And with the preseason just starting, what's standing out? What's kind of got some steam behind it right now that you guys are seeing?
Well, I pulled some players, and Ryan, for you, I pulled Damian Lillard.
Yes.
Right?
You know me too
and,
well.
His index is flat. It's down 1% over the last month. So people taking a wait-and-see approach with Dame and the Blazers this year, I think, is fair. Some of the guys who are trending up over the last month, Brandon Ingram is up 28%, Tyrese Maxey up 24%, Jaylen Brown up 24%, Blake Griffin up 18%, new Boston Celtic, getting a Celtic bump, I don't know, and Ben Simmons is up 8%. So those are some of the names of players who are on the upswing. I wonder if you guys have reactions to any of those names.
Jaylen Brown is a little surprising to me. Same with Brandon Ingram. It doesn't feel like there's anything specific to them. I guess with Brandon Ingram, it would be Zion looking as cut as he is, and just the Pelicans looking like they might be a problem in the West. But Jaylen Brown a little less so. Maybe people are just kind of comfortable with that. He's staying put in Boston. Boston's are the odds-on favorites to win it all this year, and maybe there's some excitement brewing. But you would assume that Tatum would kind of be around that level too, and I don't believe he is. Yep.
Well, sometimes people sell into the hype, and the selling overwhelms the hype. And that might be what we're seeing in preseason right now, because some of the flashier, more important names in terms of active players, players like Zion, who was just mentioned, he's down 10% in the last month. And that's not because of a shortage of demand. I just sort of anecdotally look around the hobby, whether I'm at a show or I'm just looking at social media or just kind of taking the temperature. And there's a lot of interest in Zion cards, but I think people are just selling more than they're buying because, hey, maybe people see an opportunity to get out of Zion, and that can create some downward pressure. But same goes, LeBron is down 3% going into the season. Ja Morant is down 3% the month leading into the season. Trae Young is down 2%. Luka is down 1%. So all of the let's call it the flagship names of players who, are some of the most widely collected among active players, all of them are down a bit in this month leading up to the season.
I think part of the issue with the basketball market right now is that there are so many phenomenal NBA players. The league, in terms of talent, is at like one of its highest points ever. And we have the last rookie class was quite frankly incredible between Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, Scotty Barnes. We have, Scoot Henderson, Victor, who I am practicing to pronounce his last name, but I'm probably going to butcher it right now. We have them coming up next year. We have goats like LeBron that are still playing. There are just so many players that are collectible, and you can't collect everybody. And I think because of that, the sort of wealth is spread pretty thin amongst everybody, whereas other sports don't really have that depth in terms of top level, extremely likable, extremely talented, collectible players.
Yeah, it's a great take. Speaking of Victor, we've had some takes circulate in basketball content mainstream that he's the greatest prospect of all time, or maybe second behind LeBron. And then that gets one thinking about, well, I remember when Zion was a prospect in 2019, 2020, pre-pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember going to trade nights, and I remember, going to shows in my local area. I was in Southern California at that time, and just the numbers of people who were attending were doubling and tripling, and they were all there for Zion because they wanted to be a part of Zion's rookie class, collecting those cards, being first to them. And I wonder, if Victor really is the prospect that he's being touted to be, and I don't have any reason to really think he's not. I watched his exhibitions against the G League at night, saw him drop 37 and 36, and and he passed the eye test as well. If he really is the prospect that he looks like he's going to be, that could be explosive for in particular the basketball card market when those rookie cards finally come out.
It's going to make the race to the bottom in the NBA this year pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I would be so upset if the Mavericks tanked this year, but I guess I would just deserve it. But I don't think my Mavs are tanking, and I hope I get to watch them win some games.
No, I don't think they will be either. The last question I have for you, Chris, it's a very similar situation. Jack mentioned all the young talent, especially with last year's draft class. It's a very similar situation we had with football, where football season was starting this year and you still had rookie year products of second year players coming out. We're kind of at the tail end of that. What effect do you think that's kind of having on the indexes here? A lot of cards of those guys that maybe in previous years would have been selling right now are maybe getting graded instead. Has it thrown any kind of a wrench into things, or a little bit of a curveball here with guys entering their second season?
Yep, I think it has. I'm very pessimistic about this. I am calling for the manufacturers to get back on the traditional product release schedule, even if it means cutting out some products. But under normal conditions, Prism Basketball, we'd be getting hype videos for it, we'd be getting hype posts for it, and it would be dropping in 3 weeks. And now we don't even have a release date. We don't know if it's in 6 months or 9 months. And in football, I think it wasn't as big of a deal because, the top pick in this year's draft class was a defensive end, and not a lot of quarterback hype and stuff like that. But for basketball for this year, you've got Boncaro, you've got Jaden Ivey, you've got some really exciting, dynamic players. This is one of those seasons where it's just going to hurt. It's really going to hurt not having the products that contain these players being released on time and on schedule. It's just going to hurt because it's energy. It infuses the industry with energy. It infuses collectors with energy. It makes people want to be a part of, following the careers of these players from early on when they're buying into breaks or buying products or picking up singles on the secondary market. And then there's the rate, PSA now has opened up bulk to Collectors Club members at $18 per card for low value cards from that era. I mean, these things are all part of the mechanics of people picking up cards of these players, getting them graded, waiting for the breakout game, trying to play the market. And we have everything in place. We just don't have the cards. So I'm pessimistic about this. I would really love to see product release schedule back on track as soon as possible. Definitely for Victor. If we're not going to be able to have it this year, please have it for Scoot Henderson and Victor Wembanyama's draft class.
Here.
I feel like we will. So hopefully it's just a little 1 year thing here. Well, Chris, thank you again for joining us. You're going to be back on the show again. We love talking to you. Thank you for the time this week here on the PSA Pod.
Thank you, guys.
In case you missed it, we also just announced a new grading special for TCG card submissions. The TCG bulk special is only $15 a card. Orders require only a 10 card minimum, and $199 is the maximum declared value per card. The special is a great opportunity for any TCG collector to level up their collection, especially with a wave of new releases on the horizon these next couple of months. The special will expire on October 31st, and you need to be a PSA Collectors Club member to access this limited time TCG pricing. Visit psacard.com/join to become a member today and begin your TCG grading submissions.
All right. Well, we are excited to be joined here on the PSA Pod. We love having our set registry team join us, some of the most knowledgeable experts in our operation. And joining the show for the first time today, Daniel Wruble, brand manager on the set registry team, overseeing baseball and football. Daniel, thanks for taking the time.
Greg, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we've been wanting to have you on for a while, and the timing works out great right now because baseball is heading into the postseason. Football season is obviously hot in the fall, so you're a busy man right now, I assume. Tell people a little bit about kind of what working on our set registry team as a brand manager entails.
Yeah, so a little bit about what we do is just making sure that we're keeping up to date with sets that we already have, and also keeping up to date with sets that we want to create based on what's going on in the market, what's going on with the sport. Like you said, right now, busy time for baseball and football. There's a lot going on. So just trying to stay on top of making sure we're up to date with those sets, making sure we're educating our customers on what's going on in the industry and that sort of thing.
So me and you are very much in sync because I'm a baseball football collector. You're a baseball football guy. So yourself as a collector.
Yes.
What are your big PCs? Where are your focuses as a collector?
Personally, I'm someone that collects a little bit of everything. I have everything from basketball to Star Wars to Marvel.
Okay.
So I collect a little bit of everything. Basketball is what got me into it. I played at the college level. I coached high school, and then that got me into it, basketball. And then it just has trended into baseball, football. Right now, I'm currently big into vintage baseball. I just love the story and the history behind the card. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Love that. Well, we're going to start by talking baseball. As we mentioned, the postseason, it's here.
Yep.
And we want to talk about kind of some things that have really been trending on the baseball end of the set registry. And I mean, obviously, Aaron Judge has got to be front and center with that.
Yes, he is. We're seeing a lot of trends in the rookie set creations. Aaron Judge being one of those guys that are up there, and I think it's pretty much to do with he's chasing the Triple Crown. He's trying to get that 62 American League home run record, and so it's no surprise that he's up there following the rookie set creations.
What's what have been the biggest key cards that you're seeing added in volume with Judge to this point in the fall?
With Judge, it's a lot of the 2017 Bowman Chrome, and so we're seeing a lot of that. With the rookie set, there are a couple high-end cards in there, some rookie autos in there that are tough to chase, some of the museum collection. So we're seeing a lot of cool cards come in for him.
Feels like he's kind of like this year's Ohtani, where at this point at the end of the season, there's a lot of people sitting there wishing that they'd bought some Judge cards last offseason.
Oh, absolutely. I'm one of those guys. I took a chance on him. Actually, I bought a 2017 Bowman Chrome BGS Quad 9.5, and I crossed it over here, and it got a 10. And and
Nice.
I sold it within the first month of the season because I didn't want to take the risk, and now I'm kicking myself a little bit for that because I think it's worth probably double now.
Well, hey, look, we all know this as collectors here at Collectors and PSA. Everyone has their like biggest collecting sin or regret.
Yep.
So add that to your file, I
Yep,
guess is what
exactly.
you're saying. Well, who else has really been gaining a lot of popularity during the 2022 baseball season on the registry?
Otani's got to be at the top of that list. He's doing stuff that hasn't been seen since Babe Ruth, pitching and hitting, and so he's been up there. Rookie set creation for him as well. Julio, Bobby Witt Jr., those guys are up there as well. We don't have a lot of the rookie sets out for them yet. That's something that we're going to be looking for at the start of 2023 when their season's over with.
Explain how that works too for people who might be a little newer with the registry on creating rookie sets and why it takes a little longer to get those up because that's kind of how the registry's been built.
Yeah, and that's just based around product releases, just giving the products time to be released and get the cards in and graded. And it would be one thing if we created the sets right now, but we'd be doing a lot of additional adds to the registry in terms of that set because there's not those spec numbers out there yet.
Products are still being released.
Correct. Yeah.
So we're going to still be seeing a lot of new Bobby Witt, J-Rod cards coming into the market here in the next couple months.
Yep.
Well, let's flip it a little bit and talk on the football side. As we mentioned, you're the brand manager overseeing baseball and football within the registry. It's all about quarterbacks and quarterback collecting.
Yeah,
so
100%.
Who's really been the biggest risers maybe here early in the football season in terms of registry ads?
I think no surprise. We have Josh Allen's up there, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes. But a surprise person was Tua, just the start he has to the season. So to see him in August being the top five was a little bit of a surprise.
Well, I want to finish up talking, staying on the football front. Maybe my favorite set that I've seen created recently in the set registry is the Madden 99 Club set.
Yeah.
We've pushed it on social a couple times to build some awareness. It's been really popular with registry members. So talk a little bit more about that set, where the idea came from, and what all it entails.
Yeah, so that was kind of based around the latest Madden release, Madden 23. I just caught a video of, I think it was Devontae Adams. It was a reveal or a surprise for him getting into the Madden 99 club for the second time. And just the way he reacted, I was like, we got to create a set around this and tie it in with Madden. And it just happened to be that, the 99 kind of was like the key to everything. We had Wada. They were nice enough to sponsor us with a game, Madden 99 game graded by them for a sweepstakes giveaway. So just to go into that a little bit, this is a 4-month sweepstakes. Each month we're doing it to where you get you get a chance to get $100 in grading credit that we put out, and we do a random drawing for anyone has 10 cards or more within that Madden 99 set. So very easy to enter. It's anyone that's been rated 99 or higher in the game. So there's 79 cards in the checklist. It could be any grade of that player, any card. So it's very easy to enter. You can have really high end cards, or you can have 1989 tops traded, like a PSA 4. It still counts. So just getting in those 10 cards to be eligible for the drawing, that's the biggest thing. Grading credits, and then the WADA game itself. That's a $500 item. So it was really nice for them to sponsor that. And this is just one of those set registry exclusive sweepstakes that you can't get anywhere else.
So what's your favorite, what's been your favorite card you've seen added in this set to this point?
Little bias here, and it's not the most valuable, but it's the Patrick Mahomes Donruss Elite PSA 10. I have a PSA 9 version of it, but it's just the way that it pops. You'll see it in the newsletter. If you follow the newsletter, you can subscribe to that. But we put out the customer's PSA 10 in that, and the way it pops with the PSA slab, it's incredible.
You'll always hear people here at PSA talk about that. The eye appeal really matters, and that's a very high eye appeal card,
especially with the color match with the jersey. The red flip matches the jersey, and then the design of the card. It's crazy.
Well, so remind people again where they can go to not only take part in the set at psacard.com, but also enter the sweepstakes for the Madden 99 giveaway.
Yep. So all you got to do, be a registry member, go to the key card set in the football category, and just click the Madden 99 set. And it's as simple as just putting in 10 cards, 10 different players within that registry. And you can click on a link there and it'll tell you all the details that you need to know, when the drawings are, all the way down to the hour of when they need to be put in. So super easy. Yeah, go find it, join it. It's a fun set. I think it's been up for a month now. We already have about 50 members inside of it. So it's been pretty popular.
And we will share the link to that set in the description below. So definitely make sure to check that out. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time. Anything big on the horizon football wise the rest of this season?
We're trying to incorporate some stuff with fantasy, and we're working that in. And so just creating some sets maybe around what players have been doing really good and just basing it off of their fantasy points or something like that. There's a lot of stuff in the works though. All
right, Daniel, thanks for taking the time to join us.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, this has been another great week here on the PSA Pod. Want to thank our guests, Chris McGill from CardLadder, Daniel Wruble from the PSA Set Registry team. A lot of exciting things going on here at PSA this past week and in the months ahead as we close out 2022 and head into 2023. And as always, we want to remind you, subscribe to the show, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen. And if you get a chance, leave us a review. Rating and a review on iTunes. We love the feedback. We love hearing from you. At PSA Card, send us your questions for the pod. We're happy to dive into them. We want to interact with you, the community, here on the show. So reach out to us, leave us a comment, leave us a review wherever you're consuming this show. Give us your feedback because our goal is to service you guys and make this show better as we go along. Once again, I'm Ryan Greene for Jack Archer. This has been the PSA Pod. We will talk to you again next week.